So, in our last session, we have discussed about like a cloud watch. So, and network load balancer. So, any questions for me before starting today's session?
Yeah, I have. So, in the network interface, right, we can have multiple private IP address and public IP address. So, what is that actually?
What
I
is
didn't get
that?
it. Yeah, under what scenarios we will have multiple private addresses and multiple public addresses for a network interface?
Okay, if it is a small house with just 3 to 4 members, so one entry point and one exit point is sufficient. But if you take a cinema hall, so the huge crowd, right? So
Mm-hmm.
at a time, many guys want to come in, go out. So if you have multiple entry and exit points, that would be easy for everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, whatever the web traffic you are getting, so if you have multiple, entry and exit point for your EC2 instances, so then you can have that resource like EIP and ENI.
Mm-hmm.
So I even shown one server hardware image in our session. I hope you remember that.
Yes.
So it is not a new mechanism. It's there from ages. Same, we have an option in AWS. The use is so the use case is whenever you want to enter and exit points, then we go with
So,
that.
so in that case, right, there were multiple network interface card, right?
Hmm.
So here we just define one network interface, right? And we are attaching multiple IPs, right? Public and private IPs with the same network interface. So that is confusing me. Mm.
What is the confusing point there?
So when you talk about a hardware device, right? So that is we can have one public and private IP to that, or we can have multiple public and private IP for a physical device as well.
Yes. So if
So
have you ever launched anything on Oracle VM VirtualBox?
yes, yes.
So in Oracle VM VirtualBox also for your laptop you have only one LAN card.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
But whatever the OS you are going to deploy within Oracle VM VirtualBox, you can add
Mm-hmm.
multiple network interface cards. How it is possible? Those are virtual resources, not a physical resources. If you go to settings, if you navigate to resource networking and all, so then you will get that adding multiple under networking. See, this is for adapter 1. Do you want to enable adapter 2? Enable it. Adapter 3. How we are getting these adapter? My laptop only one NIC card.
Okay.
These are the virtual resources. So virtual NICs is going to add it to our instance.
So single network interface is serving multiple IPs, right? Multiple private IPs, and that could be pointed to multiple public IPs attached to the same network interface.
Physically, we are going to have a network interface.
Mm-hmm.
OS level, you can have a number of.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So any other questions from anyone? All right. So then in today's session, we are going to discuss about the auto scaling group. So ASG. So when coming to auto scaling group, I have given a high level overview about auto scaling group. So you have an application. That application, always need to have two EC2 instances. This is our load balancer, elastic load balancer, and the customer, he is trying to access our application. So these instances added to load on top of load balancer. This is serving our application. So the load is stable, the load is constant, and always we need to have two EC2 instances. Then we can configure this auto scaling with the desired count as a 2. So always this auto scaling group will maintain two EC2 instances. If something happened to one EC2 instance, other one is going to provision. that will add it to load balancer automatically, and it is going to deliver it. So this is if you delete this one also, or if you this one also got deleted either manually or technical issues, that instance got deleted, automatically we are going to get another EC2 instance and it is going to deliver. This is going to be a continuous process. Now to achieve this, we need to have a load balancer that I'm going to create and I'm going to keep it idle. Then whatever the new instance is creating, that should registered here and that should be delivered to end customer. And whenever new server is launching, whenever new instance is launching within this process, so whenever any scale-in option is triggered, scale-in means, okay, we have enough resources, we don't require, okay, these many resources for to deliver our application based on the metric we configured. So then it is going to delete. When any scale-in option is triggered, it is going to delete an instance. That it is going to pick one of the instance. For that, we have a mechanism. I'll talk about that. Okay. So when any scale out option is triggered, scale out, whenever any scale out option is triggered, it is going to add the instance to existing one. So now what happened? We need to create a new instance. Now this new instance, what settings it need to pick? What OS it need to have, like, what is a thing you need to configure at application level. For that, along with load balancer, I'm going to create an AMI and I'm going to keep it ready. So in future, if I want to change, I can go here, I can modify this, then immediately, like, I can deliver my updated version of the application, or when any instance is launching, it will look for this AMI within launch configuration, it is going to launch the instance. So for that purpose, initially I'm creating an AMI and I'm creating a load balancer. Then we will come back to auto scaling group. Then we will configure this. All right. So while configuring auto scaling group itself, you can configure a load balancer. You can create a load balancer, but that is not the mechanism most of the times we follow. We create a load balancer, we keep it ready, then we will go and configure the auto scaling group. The second option itself a easy option for me, but I'm going to explain the standard procedure. All right. So now let me launch an EC2 instance. Launch instance. Amazon Linux 2 AMI. I'm going to take T2 micro and I'm going with all the default options, storage, tags. I'm not giving any tag and I'm going to add this to Linux SG, review, launching using and keep pair. Okay. So I'm going to get connected to this instance and I'm going to perform whatever modifications I want to. So whenever any new instance got provisioned, what application it should delivered via auto scaling group, those all things I'm going to configure here. So at moment, I'm going with the static option, guys. But what you can do, whatever, for example, you have this instance one and instance two, some modification happen on this instance. So that should reflect here also. So for that, we are going to depend on another option called EFS. That is our tomorrow's topic. So if you have that question, I'll take that question tomorrow, right? So grab the public IP address, or else let me go with this connect option. EC2 instance connect, EC2 iPhone user, click on connect, and we are going to get the EC2 instance here. So now, sudo space su, clear in the screen, yum install stdpd-y. Okay, so it made as a web server. Then service stdpd start, chk config, stdpd on. All right. So now var www.html, vim index.html. Press I to go to insert mode, and I'm going to give header, and I'm going to take this as this is my ASC website version 1. Version 1. I'll tell you why I'm giving version 1. Okay, press escape : WQ. So now if we give ls index.html is there, and this is what the data. And let me create another file vim status.html. Press I am going to give this instance is healthy using the header. Press escape :wq. All right, now that is ready. So let me grab the instance public IP address. Let me test it. Okay, this is my website, as well as let's give /status.html, and it is showing the instance is healthy. All right, so now if you want to perform any other modifications and all, yes, you can do that. Okay, so now I'm going to create a golden AMI of this particular instance. For that, best practice is stop instance. Otherwise, you can keep instance in running state, then also you can initiate, but following best practices is a recommended one. So it is stopping, then we can create a golden AMI. So this part, this golden AMI I'm creating. So step 1, create a golden AMI. So this is going to take a minute. Oh, I haven't initiated, right? So go to actions, image and template, create image. So I'm going to call this as app golden AMI version 1. Version 1 of my application. So then scroll down, click on create image. So now golden AMI is going to create. So meanwhile, I'll create a load balancer and I'll keep it ready. So step 2, create an elastic load balancer. You can choose any of the load balancer. So I'll go with the application load balancer. Load balancers, create load balancer, application load balancer, and I'm going to call this as ASC Like, you can give prod, auto scaling group ELB, you can give any name. Internet facing, IPv4, good with the port number 80. Then I'm going to choose all the subnets under my VPC. Then click on next. Ignore this warning at moment. So navigate here and I'm going to create a new security group, ELBSG. Port number 80 is open for everyone. Click on next, target group, TZ1, -app1 or app2, you can give anything based on your convenience. And here, health checks, where you are going to perform the health check. I'm going to perform health check on status.html file. So why? Because my index.html is always like, everyone, all the customers, they are going to access this index.html, right? So most of the times the traffic is going to be huge, or like everyone depend on the index.html only. Instead of putting more load on index.html, I create another file, status.html. If that is giving any response, okay, we are good. So then click on next. Here, do I have any instance? No, and I'm not even going to add any other instance also here. See, I'm not adding any instance here. I'm creating a plain empty or plain elastic load balancer. Review, create. So no targets associated. Why? Because what are the instances it creates in this auto scaling group, right? It should add to this load balancer automatically. It should register here in this target group automatically, and it should be delivered. So that process should be automated, that everything should be automated. So that's why I have not added any instances on my load balancer. So this AMI status, let's verify that. All right, it got created. Now I no longer require this EC2 instance as my AMI got created. Terminate instance, terminate. Now it's gone. Okay. So when coming to step 3 here, create an auto scaling group. Within this auto scaling group creation, we have 2 steps. Step 1 is create a launch configuration. Create a launch configuration. Step 3.2 is create an auto scaling group. So whenever any new instance is creating, what OS it need to pick? The OS is ready here. This OS we are going to pick. But what instant type it required, what security group you need to pick, so what port number, like within that security group, and what is a key pair you need to associate, those all things we are going to configure under this launch configuration. Launch configuration is nothing but a template. When a new instance is about to launch, what are the settings you require? It is a template after that, right? So that is a launch configuration. So now let's go here and choose this launch configuration option. So before that, our load balancer is ready. So let's grab the DNS name and let's test this. What output we are expecting? Whenever we are trying to test 500 related. So HTTP status code 500 related means it's a service unavailable, like service temporarily unavailable, not gateway timed out, request timed out. Those all are not an issue from our side. We are hitting the proper URL, but there is no healthy instance to deliver. So that means this is an empty load balancer, so we are good with that, right? So now let's navigate to auto scaling group. So till here we already know, guys, but we already did that multiple times. So now we are going to configure this. See, initially, whenever you're doing this for the first time, it looks a bit complex, but it's pretty easy. So now navigate to launch configuration, click on create launch configuration. So click on create launch configuration. Now, what is the name you want to give? So my launch config version 1. I have called this as a launch config version 1. Then scroll down, what is the AMI you want to pick? Whatever the one we already created and kept, I'm going to pick that AMI. Click and it is going to load under my AMI. Okay, app golden AMI version 1 I'm going to pick. Now, what is the instant type you are going to pick? So I'm going to choose T2 micro. Click on choose instance, search for T2 micro. So we want to be under free tier limitation. So I'm going to pick T2 micro. Click on choose. Now scroll down. Do you want to launch this under spot instance request? Go and bid your price. But I want to get it immediately. Instance profile. That is our coming topic. So day after tomorrow, we are going to discuss this topic. So leave it at moment. So monitoring. So do you want to enable detail monitoring for our CloudWatch? But if you observe, detail monitoring is going to cost us. So basic monitoring is a 5 minutes interval, detail monitoring 1 minute interval. The only difference is here we are going to get graphs for with 5 minutes aggregation interval, but here 1 minute aggregation interval. So, but it is going to cost us. So don't, select that option. EBS optimized, launch an EBS optimized instance only. So instead of instant store volumes or instant store instant types, it won't show. So this, ignore it. No need to worry about that. So whenever you navigate to advanced details, it will give an option to choose whether you want to give any metadata. Metadata should be accessible or not. or how many hops you want to give, what metadata you want to give, or what user data you want to give, you can give that here. So that also most of the times we don't give for launch configuration. We configure all those things in our golden AMI only, right? So now storage. So root volume, yes, we obviously require this. So if you want to add a new volume for this launch configuration also, you can do that, but I'm leaving it. So then I'm going to create a new security group, or else you can go and you can pick a existing security group also, but I'll prefer to go with the new security group. Auto scaling security group 1. So when it is creating and all that, added under description. So what traffic it need to add? So you can go here and you can pick what traffic it need to add. So just go here and I'm going to open HTTP traffic, port number 80 for everyone, right? So I haven't added anything. So port number 80 for everyone. Okay, so now scroll down. What key pair you want to give? So we already have a key pair within that, within this golden AMI. So you can either go with proceed without a key pair, or you can choose the same key pair as it is a Linux instance. Of course, both works for us. Then scroll down, click on create launch configuration. See, I don't have any instances. Click on create launch configuration. Still, I won't get any instance. What are all the settings we have given so far? What are the things we have configured so far? This one. So what AMI it is picking, what instant type it is picking, what key pair, what kernel RAM disk ID, and also those all things we are going to have here. Okay. So these are the settings it is going to pick whenever new instance is about to create. Whenever any new instance is about to create, for example, scale in option got triggered, scale out option got triggered, it need to create an EC2 instance. So while creating this EC2 instance, it will pick all these settings. That's what we configured here in this phase. Okay, so now let's go and configure this auto scaling group. Yesterday we discussed about alarms, right? So I hope everybody got that mechanism. Now let's navigate to auto scaling group. Create an auto scaling group. So if you observe, this is the image for that auto scaling group. So we need to define desired capacity. So whenever you're delivering your application, when the load is between 20% to 80%, I want to run my instances with 2. Then we can define that as a desired capacity. When load is very, very low, when load is less than 20%, I want to run my application with 1 EC2 instance. So that we can give, that is a minimum size as a 1. When load is very, very high, above 80% from last 30 minutes or last 1 hour, so we want to run our application with 4 EC2 instances. So then the maximum size is a 4. But is this 2 instances runs always? See, below 20% you will have 1. Below 80% or equal to 80% we will have 2. These resources will be come alive or will provision and will come and deliver the service whenever scale out option is triggered. So that scale out operation we can select when CPU utilization is greater than or equal to 80% on these existing resources from last 30 minutes or from last 1 hour, that we can define. So this is a mechanism, right? Now let's go and create auto scaling group. Click on create auto scaling group. What is auto scaling group name you want to give? So my prod auto scaling group. Now here we have an option to choose a template, but let's switch to launch configuration. Click on that. So then go here and choose the launch configuration. I'll talk about that. Click on my launch config version 1, the one we created some time back. It will show you, okay, what is the AMI ID, what is the launch configuration, what is the security group you're using within this. So it lists the properties of this, right? Then click on next. In what VPC you want to run? Okay, we have only one VPC, that is a default VPC. Go here and pick that. So now I'm going to select AP South 1A. So for example, in next step, you need to choose how many you required and all. So if I select only one subnet while picking two EC2 instances, so now what happened? All the instances launch, for example, while launching the EC2 instance, while configuring auto scaling group, I have selected only one subnet. So this EC2 instance, if it terminated, new instance also comes in 1A. If this also got terminated, you will get another instance in 1A. And as per our load balancer mechanism, it's always recommended to spread our application across multiple subnets, right? So I am selecting 1A and 1B. Now, if I select two instances, one instance launch in 1A, another instance launch in 1B. If this instance is terminated, another instance is going to provision in 1B itself, right? So better to choose multiple subnets, and at organizational level, we always choose all the subnets. But T2 Micro don't support 1C. That's why I don't prefer to go and launch or choose 1C here. So then click on next. Now you want to go with the no load balancer, or if you already have an existing load balancer, attach this or create a new load balancer. Whenever you select no load balancer, so what happened, you are going to get your application, how many instances you required, you are going to have. But this instance have different IP, different IP, different IP. When this end customer is trying to access, how he is going to? So if this instance got terminated, new instance will get with new public IP address. So manually you need to deliver that, right? So that is bit a very, very difficult thing to manage all our resources. So that's why we always go with the load balancer. So if you want to attach to an existing load balancer, select this. So either it is a network load balancer or application load balancer, then go and choose the target group. If it is a classic load balancer, go and pick the classic load balancer here. But our load balancer is a auto scaling group, application load balancer, right? So go and pick this. Otherwise, if you want to create a load balancer while launching this, you can pick this option. Attach to a new load balancer. What type of load balancer you want to launch? Application load balancer, network load balancer. What is the load balancer name you want to give? What is the load balancer? Internal load balancer or internet facing? What VPC you want to choose? What subnets you want to choose? What is the port number? And what do you want to do? Create a new target group, then add that here. Right. These all things we already know. I'm going with attached to an existing load balancer, and I'm going to select the target group. So this target group don't have any EC2 instances. We know that. So then scroll down. These are optional things actually. So we don't worry about that much, but I'll explain you. So what health checks you want to consider while as you're adding load balancer, here an existing load balancer, we are going to use that load balancer health checks and health check grace period. So this means now an EC2 instance got provisioned as part of the auto scaling group. Now, immediately this is going to add to load balancer. Now, load balancer immediately what it will do, it will start performing health checks on this EC2 instance. Okay, initially first 30 seconds or 60 seconds or whatever the value you gave here, initial 90 seconds, whatever health checks it perform, I don't want to consider that health checks. Why? So that EC2 instance will take some time to load, and whatever the application we have inside that, it might take some time to. So that grace period we are giving to this EC2 instance. So within this duration, how many health checks, whether it is a healthy or unhealthy, it won't consider. So these value you can define. For example, our application is very small, so we are going to give 60. The default one is 300 guides. So I'm going to give 60. See, if you take our session, every day the window opens at 7:30, but I am starting session at 7:35. So what the duration from 7:30 to 7:35? That is a grace period, right? So you do have an option to launch by 7:35, or you can join at 7:30. So that duration, we won't consider that duration. So for health checks also, first 60-second health checks won't be considered. That is an optional one. And enable group metric collection within CloudWatch. See, CloudWatch is going to give the graphs. So if you are looking for a graphical view of the EC2 instances as a group and all, then you can. So this we really don't require. In backend, it is going to collect. If you want to view that, you need to enable this. Then click on next. So now here we need to choose the group size with how many instances you want to run, what is the minimum capacity, maximum capacity, those you need to choose here. Okay, the desired capacity. I want to run my application always with two EC2 instances. The minimum capacity is 1, maximum capacity, I'm going with the 4. As per this diagram only, I'm going to launch 4 EC2 instances. Okay, minimum is the 1. When you want to go with the minimum, when you want to go with the maximum, we are going to configure that. So I'm giving desired capacity 2, 1 and 4 here. So now scaling policies. So we have a scaling policy called target tracking scaling policy. So basically this target tracking scaling policy will be managed by AWS only. How it is going to managed? By giving a metric. Okay, give CPU utilization metric to AWS. It will monitor and it is going to launch instance. It is going to remove instance based on that, like, automatically. So that is one option. And this is as per AWS recommendation. This is the best scaling policy we have. But I'm going to show you scaling policies manually. So I'm going to choose none. I'm not going to choose any scaling policy at moment. I'll configure and I'll show you that. So I'm going with the none here. So that means I'm giving my desired count as a 2. Okay. So and scaling policy also I'm going to select none. So that means my application always run with the 2 EC2 instances. Then scroll down. Scale in protection that we will talk. That we have a auto scaling group termination policies and all that I'll talk in some time by referring to this particular diagram. So let's leave that option at moment. Then click on next. Notification. Do you want to get any notification regarding this auto scaling group? You can go here and you can pick the SNS topic. So on our Saturday session, we created one SNS topic that we can go and we can pick this. Then when do you want to get notification? When instance is launched or terminated or fail to launch or fail to terminate, you will get notification here. Then click on next. Tags. I'm going to give tags to all the instances launched here. I'm going to give a name tag ASG instance. Okay, version 1. Then click on next. So this is review screen. Click on create auto scaling group. So immediately whenever we navigate here, create auto scaling group, immediately we are going to get EC2 instances here. See this, we got 2 EC2 instances and it is in pending state. And immediately I want to show you another thing. This target group, what are all the instances adding there? Those EC2 instances will come registered here. So let's wait for it. So this instance is provisioning here, both are in running state. Okay, now these will come and registered to the target group. See here, a second back it is not available, but now it added here and it is showing the status as an initial. So both instances are healthy now. So what are the instances creation we initiated from this auto scaling group? See, what is our desired capacity? 2. So 2 instances got created, and what are the current instances we have? So this is the desired capacity. This is the how many instances we actually have. You can find activity, navigate to activity. Scroll down, see this activity history. Two instances got provisioned. See what is the thing it is verifying? What is the desired capacity and actual capacity? So there is a difference between desired capacity and actual capacity. It is launched 2. Now desired capacity and actual capacity is at 2. So that is the first phase. It is going to verify desired capacity and actual capacity. That is the first thing. Now, second thing, what is happening? What are the instances it provisioned here? These two instances got provisioned. So these two EC2 instances came to the load balancer. Why? Because while configuring auto scaling group, we have configured this load balancer. So now this load balancer is getting all the traffic from this target group. So those two EC2 instances added to this target group, and both are healthy. As both are healthy, it is using this DNS name and it is going to delivering our application. See this. And how we got this application? From the golden AMI. Where we have defined that golden AMI? We have defined that golden AMI in this launch configuration. So this is the process. Now I'm going to terminate one of the EC2 instance, and observe this, one instance is running in 1A, another one is running in 1B. So while creating auto scaling group, we selected both the subnets, right? That's fine. And wantedly, I'm going to terminate one of the EC2 instance. See, I'm not going to perform anything. Just apart from refresh, I'm not going to perform anything, right? So see, one instance is down, but still my application is delivered. Why? In the target group, another healthy host is there. Whenever you give refresh, see only one instance is there. So that healthy host is taking all the data and it is going to deliver. So no issue. So automatically, it will, this auto scaling group detects that, okay, what is the desired count and actual count? When it is going to vary in a minute, or like, so both instances got terminated, we have only one running instance. But what is our desired count? It is 2. How many actual instances we have? Only 1. Immediately auto scaling group will detect that in a minute or 2. So then it is going to launch another EC2 instance. If both instances got terminated, let's see what happens. I terminated both instances. So do we have any healthy instance? No. And does this target group have any healthy instance? No. No healthy targets also. And our application is down. See here, our application again service temporary unavailable. Okay, so let's wait for a minute or two. Then see here, another instance is creating. It is in pending state. How it is creating? I have not launched manually. So this auto scaling group came to know that total 3 instances, but how many is healthy and all? This is the desired capacity. So whenever you go here, instance management, it will see what is the status of this instance. It is terminating. So as it is a terminating, then it won't consider, it will kick out that instance. So one instance came up and running, it is in service, another one is in pending. The same thing we can go under activity, scroll down, see this activity history. One instance got terminated or stopped. So then EC2 health checks is failing and all. So then immediately it is launching an EC2 instance. Now the desired capacity came from like a 1 to 2. After a minute, again I terminated the instance. So it will come to know about that also. Then it is going to see our application is up and running again. And how many instances? One instance. If you wait for another minute, we are going to get one more instance also. We will get one more instance also. So it always keep 2 healthy instances to deliver our application. So you got the mechanism, guys, how it is happening and what is the logic behind that. So any questions so far for me, guys? No response at all. So how you want me to take that? Either the topic is complex or you're not able to understand or you got the mechanism. Another instance is creating. Come on, give some response, guys.
I think it is fine for me. Amish.
Mhm.
Yeah, we are okay, Avinash. Yeah, trying to grasp.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Avinash, you switch the screen so quickly, right? So at times it becomes difficult where you click.
Sorry. I didn't get that, Swaraj.
You switch the screens very quickly, right? So at times it becomes difficult. Where are you moving? So, and that is what I
Okay.
can say. Yeah.
So both instances are up and running, and these two instances added to our load balancer target group. It is added here, and that is delivering via DNS name. So that's a mechanism here. So now that is like, we are running our application with like, two EC2 instances always. If you terminate 1,000 times here, 1,001 time, you are going to get two more instances. Okay. So if you once you're done with the lab and all, make sure you terminate the auto scaling group. So don't just go and terminate your EC2 instances and don't leave the resource like that. Automatically it will create another two EC2 instances. So that is an important thing. Now let's configure like, when load is less, I want to go with one EC2 instance. When load is high, I want to go with the four EC2 instances. So that thing to configure, navigate to auto scaling group. So here we have an option called automatic scaling. Now we have an option called automatic scaling. Go and configure the automatic scalings here. Click on add policy. So you want to go with the target tracking policy that Amazon is going to manage everything for us. Step scaling and simple scaling. So both are similar. So the backend mechanism, it's going to be different, what metric and how it is going to pick the metric. So let's go with the simple scaling policy. Here's what is a scaling policy name. So I'm going to call this as a low usage scaling policy. Now we need to create a CloudWatch alarm. So that's why before this topic, I have covered CloudWatch alarm topic. So now we need to go and we need to create a CloudWatch alarm. When that alarm got triggered, we are going to mention, okay, I want to set my desired capacity units to 1, or I want to remove these many instances, or I want to add these many instances, right? So I want to set my desired capacity to 1. So for that, we need to create an alarm. So click on create a CloudWatch alarm. Now select metric, go here and select the metric. So whenever the you need to pick for auto scaling group, search for auto scaling group. So within EC2 by auto scaling group. Now regarding what auto scaling group you are talking, go here, pick the auto scaling groups. So what is that auto scaling group name we have given? Create a CloudWatch alarm. We have a lot of auto scaling groups actually. My prod ESC, this is the auto scaling group. I think did we added P? Let me confirm that. Auto scaling group. Okay.
Yes, you added.
So these are the scaling policies we have for this auto scaling group. So you can even search pay my prod ASG. Search, it is going to show all the scaling policies available. So within this auto scaling group, whenever CPU usage or network utilization or network in and out, you can go and pick. So I'm going to choose CPU utilization. That is the standard one we follow always. So whenever the CPU utilization of the resources within this auto scaling group, here it is showing. Sometime back it is 0.2 and now it is 5%. Select the metric. So whenever CPU utilization of the resources running within this auto scaling group is like minimum of greater than or equal, lower than equal, or lower, so less than or equal 10 percentage from last 5 minutes or last 15 minutes, then you can. I'm going with 5 minutes interval. I just want to show you the output. So whenever CPU utilization, in last session what we chose, we selected individual instance, but this time what we are selecting, we are selecting an auto scaling group. Whenever CPU utilization of this auto scaling group is less than or equal to 10 percentage from last 5 minutes, last 10 minutes, that we can go and pick. So then click on next. Now, do you want to get alarm related to this? Do you want to get notification related to this alarm? You can give or you can remove. However, in auto scaling group only we have configured that. So now leave everything to blank. Scroll down, click on next, alarm name. So low usage alarm. So then what is the metric we have selected? Less than or equal to 10 percentage from last 5 minutes. Then click on next. So this is a review screen. Create an alarm. So create an alarm, keep it ready for low usage. For high usage also, I'm going to create an alarm and I'll keep it ready. Click on create alarm, select metric, look for EC2. So within that, search for auto scaling group by auto scaling group. Search for the metric PASC. What is the name? I forgot. P my prod ASC. Okay. So here I'm going to pick again CPU utilization. Click on select metric, but this time I'm going to pick CPU utilization of the instances running under this auto scaling group is maximum of greater than or equal to 80 percentage from last 15 minutes. Then I want to trigger an action there. So notification not really required. Click on next. So I'm going to give alarm name as a high usage alarm. CPU utilization is greater than or equal to 90 percentage for 15 minutes. So then click on next, create alarm. So low usage alarm is there, high usage alarm is there. Now go back to the auto scaling group. Here is the auto scaling group. We are creating a scaling policy. So first initially I'm going to create low usage scaling policy. Now go and pick the alarm. Don't choose wrong alarm. So low usage alarm I'm going to pick. So whenever the CPU utilization is less than or equal to 10 percentage for one consecutive period of 300 seconds, that means 5 minutes. So the auto scaling group name is this one. Then take this action. Set my desired count or add these many instances or remove. So set the count units to capacity units to 1. So then how many seconds you want to take, the duration between the scaling policies. Now this scaling policy got triggered, or before this another scaling policy got triggered. So till how much duration you want to wait to trigger another scaling policy? You can give, I'm going to give 60 seconds. Click on create. Now one scaling policy got created here. So at moment our EC2 instances, we have 2. Let me show you that. We have 2 EC2 instances. Okay. Now go and create another another scaling policy. Click on add policy, simple scaling policy, high usage scaling policy. Then what is a CloudWatch alarm? High usage alarm. Then what is the metric we define there? Whenever CPU utilization is greater than or equal to, for one consecutive period of 900 seconds, that means 15 minutes, then take this action. Set desired count to 2. So, or add 2 more instances. Say add 2% of existing group or add 2 capacity units to that existing group, that we can. Or else most of the times we go with the set. Set our desired count as a 4. Then 60 seconds to allow another scaling policy, then click on create. So now we have both the scaling policies, low usage and high usage. Okay, so before configuring this high usage, so I have shown we have two EC2 instances, right? Now if we go here, if we give refresh, so it is going to trigger an alarm. Where is that? We can verify under activity. Just give a refresh here. So whenever, see, now desired capacity is set to 1. Why? Why? Because this scaling got triggered, your low usage scaling policy got triggered. So the reason is the instant CPU utilization is less than 10%. How we can say that? Navigate to activity, scroll down, see here, a monitoring alarm called low usage alarm is triggered the policy and desired capacity got changed from 2 to 1. So then it picked an EC2 instance called BB05 1BD. Instance got selected to terminate. Now this instance is going to terminate in some time. It will take some time to terminate basically, but that instance got selected to terminate and it is going to update the status once it got terminated. Okay, so how? Based on the scaling policy. High usage, I cannot put that much load. Low usage, yeah, I can keep idle and that got triggered. So that's why output of low scaling policy, we are able to see that here under activity. So you can even find that low usage alarm got triggered here. Okay, so high usage, whenever we are working with real data, then yes. So we can disable this or we can manually execute this also. For example, without that you manually want to execute, you can go here and you can execute this. So that also happens. But time duration between the scaling policy should be minimum 60 seconds so that we can wait. Then you can. So you can go and you can even disable these. So when it is in disable, it won't take this particular action. So that is a scaling policy. So any question on the scaling policy, guys? Alarm, we already know. The only thing we perform here is we set this option. When that alarm got triggered, in our Saturday session, what we did, we asked Amazon to stop instance, reboot instance, or terminate instance. But instead of that, we are telling to AWS to, okay, set my desired capacity to 1, set my desired capacity to 4. That's what we are mentioning, nothing more than that. We do have schedule scaling option also. When coming to the schedule scaling, when any particular time frame occurred, so you can trigger to run your application with the desired count of EC2 instances. Yes. Yeah. Any question for me, guys?
Hi, Avinash.
Yes,
Actually, when the two instances got 80%, right? Ideally, we don't go for another two, right? Generally, we kickstart the third instance, right?
Yes, that's what we are going to do. See,
Now, yeah. Yes, please.
see, if you observe, whenever this CPU utilization of an existing instance is high, then what I'm doing, I'm asking this auto scaling group to set the desired capacity to 4. So then what happened, auto scaling group automatically provision 2 more EC2 instances here. See, whenever you have heavy workload, what you are going to inform to your manager? Hey manager, my workload is very heavy. So allocate 2 more members to this project. So then what that manager will do? That manager will allocate 2 more members. Now what happened? So far you are the only one who took all the load. Now you have 4 members to distribute the load. So your workload is going to reduce automatically.
Yeah, I got it. In ideal situations, right, when the CPU utilization for 2 instances is reaching 80%,
Yes.
ideally we don't look for another 2 instances. We'll see when the third instance is reaching 80%, we generally go for the fourth one, right? Maybe just thinking, just I am assuming.
Yeah, in that case, set the desired capacity to 3.
We need to add few more policies here.
Yes, you need to add.
Okay, then just, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you can increase one by one. So for example, from 2 directly I'm jumping to 4. If you want to add one more instance and if you want to monitor that also, then if you want to another, yes, you can go and trigger another alarm. For example, when it is like 70%, I want to run with 3. When it is CPU utilization is 80%, I want to run with 4. Yes, that also we can configure.
Yeah, some more complex constructions. Okay,
Yes.
then. All right, thanks. Do we have the maximum? What would be the maximum desired form?
No.
It depends on, is it?
Yeah, it depends on our requirement only.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Right. So any other question, guys?
So when I share the capacity, we have set to 4, right? So it means I cannot go beyond 4 if
Yes.
my capacity goes 80 beyond 80% for these 4
I'll
instances.
talk. I'll talk about that.
Okay.
Give me a couple of seconds.
Okay.
So now we have another option called schedule scaling policy. So when coming to this schedule scaling policy, when any particular time occurred, then you can choose, okay, at this regardless of load. I don't want to go like CPU utilization, all those things. So I have a scenario where I'm getting a lot of traffic from Monday, like I'm getting a lot of traffic on only on Fridays or only on like Monday. So or a particular duration, I'm getting heavy traffic. So I want to set my desired capacity to like this much at that particular time. In that case, we can go with the scheduled scaling policy. So now I'm going to create a scheduled scaling policy. But before that, I want to show you. Currently, my desired capacity is 1 and my maximum capacity is 4. All right. So now let's go and configure the scheduled action. What is the name you want to give? I want to go with one time schedule. So now what is the desired capacity you want to give? Okay, my desired capacity, I need 5 EC2 instances. At what time? So minimum and maximum, you can define that, but this time I'm going to keep it empty. So what is a recurrence? So I want to trigger this only once at this particular time. Otherwise, you can choose, okay, this need to be happen every week. Come on. This need to happen every week. Okay. So then, or like, we have an option every day or every 1 hour, for every 30 minutes or for every 5 minutes, or you can even define a cron job also. So I'm going to choose only once. Let's understand the mechanism. So on this particular day, at this particular time frame, I want to set my desired capacity to 5. So this time zone is in UTC. So now I need to convert it to IST. So UTC to IST. I'm not that much good at time zones, guys. So in my laptop, no, I have like, a couple of times here. So I need to add UTC also here. So In IST 8:35, that means 3:05 a.m. So at 8:37, that means 3:07. At 3:07, I want to run my application with 5 EC2 instances as a desired capacity. Then create. Now, if this alarm got triggered, how many instances we are going to get? Are we going to get 5 or 4? The answer is we are going to get only 4 EC2 instances. See, here you are asking to go with the 5, but what happens whenever the time frame got ticked, whenever 8:37 happened, it will try to launch 5 EC2 instances, but the maximum capacity we have defined as a 4. So only 4 EC2 instances it is going to. So we always need to, whenever any schedule action is triggering or any other policy is triggering, whether, see, if you're creating an alarm here, simply when this alarm got triggered, you are giving, okay, set my capacity to 10. Giving this value as a 10 is not sufficient. You need to increase this maximum value also, then only it's going to trigger, otherwise it won't. Okay, so that is important thing. So let's go and edit, make it 5 or keep it 10. So the value is within that, so we are good. We are going to get total 5 EC2 instances. So now it can scale anything between 1 to 10. So now this schedule scaling action got triggered. When it got triggered, it will clear from the screen, and the same thing you can find under the activity. So here that is happened, and how many instances we have? We have only one EC2 instance. See, it picked that 5.1 BD instance to terminate. So now my desired capacity is only one. So one instance is delivering all the traffic here. Now at 8:37, so what happens? That scheduled scaling policy, the one we created, it got executed. So it cleared from the screen, and you can find that under the activity. So go here, find the activity. So it's pre-in service, a scheduled action got created. So what is the capacity? It is increasing the capacity from 1 to 5. So it will keep that existing instance alive, and it is going to add 4 more instances. See this. This is the existing instance. Now 4 more EC2 instances got provisioned. So based on particular time frame also, we can add or we can remove the instances. So it is adding or it is launching these many EC2 instances. So that is a schedule scaling. When coming to cron job, so we can go and we can pick a cron job also. For example, something need to happen on a particular day at a particular time. So these are the examples. Some examples. So a cron job need to run from Monday to Friday. From Monday to Friday between 8 o'clock to 5:55 p.m. It need to run. Then you can pick this. So from Monday to Friday, for every 10 minutes it need to run. This is an option. It need to run for every 15 minutes. This is an option. So first day of the month, second day of the month, or 1 to 15, from day 1 to day 15 only it need to trigger, that we can give it. So Monday to Friday at this particular point of time at 18 means 6 p.m. it is going to trigger. So such type of cron examples also we can take while configuring this auto scaling group, right? So that is a schedule scaling action. And now here also you can see the desired capacity is 5. So sometime back someone is about to ask a question. So did that answer your question, or is it something different you are about to ask?
Uh, we talked about the scheduled scheduling, right? I was asking, let's say I have got 4 instances, right, and my capacity crosses 80%. So I just need +1, right? Then with the 5 instances, capacity crosses 80%. Then I need +1 more. So can we configure something like incremental increase of instances?
Yes. here we have an option based on percentage also, right? Whenever you're taking this scaling policy, you can directly, like, add these many capacity units or percentage of the group. So, like, increments of at least one capacity unit or two capacity units or three capacity units, you can add whenever you select this.
Okay, got it, got it.
Avinash, one question. So even if I add here, it cannot cost the maximum number of instances what I defined in the auto scaling configuration, right?
Mhm.
I mean, max it will run 4. That's all. It will not. It cannot exceed 4, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. But now what I did, I have given max as 10.
Yeah.
So
Now
if
here
you
10.
configure to launch 15 instances, only 10 is going to launch. After that, like, the maximum, we are going to get a activity error that, okay, you're trying to launch 15, but the maximum capacity is set to 10 only. So it is going to launch only 10.
Okay. Yeah, got you.
So couple of things here in auto scaling group. Now we have an application that is running and we want to upgrade that application. For example, at moment it is running with version 1. Okay. So, or at moment it is running with T2 micro. So I want to change all the configurations. So what happen if you go here, if you modify this, it applicable to only this EC2 instance. Or if you go here, modify this, it applicable to those instances only. But fine, you have 5 instances, you went here, you modified all the 5 EC2 instances. But one of the instance got terminated. You're going to get a new instance. Again, will that get a modified configuration or the configuration from the launch configuration only? Obviously, it will get configuration from this launch configuration. So if you want to upgrade this hardware, or if you want to upgrade this hardware, you need to create a new launch configuration with updated configuration. Or if you want to deliver another version of your application, create another golden AMI, create another golden AMI. So then use that golden AMI within this launch configuration. Okay, so then follow the blue and green deployment mechanism. Then with zero downtime, we can upgrade our application from one version to another version. Okay, so let me show you that. So let me do one thing. I'm going to modify this particular instance web page instead of launching and, like, performing all those things. I'll just do one thing. I'll modify this and I'm going to use. It's not connecting. Let me pick this EC2 instance and get connected to it. Or did I choose no IP? Let me. Oh, we haven't opened SSH port. That's a reason. I created a new auto scaling group, security group, right? So port number only 80 is open. I haven't opened port number 22. So always troubleshooting should start from security groups only. SSH, opening for everyone, save rules. Got it. So sudo space su, clear on the screen, cd var www.html, vim index.html, press I, and I'm going to make it as this is my website version 2.0. Press escape, :wq. All right. So this particular instance output only different. So again, why you did that, don't ask me. Just to reduce some time, just to save some time for myself, I did that. So now I'm going to create an AMI. Create AMI. What is the AMI ID? So my golden AMI version 2.0. create image. So I'm creating an image. So if we go here, refreshing, see in between, couple of traffic is going to the 2.0. So just ignore that. So I want to show you that our application is how we migrate our application from version 1 to version 2. 5 more minutes, guys. So this topic itself a bit big topic. So, meanwhile, let's see. I got a couple of questions. How we can use auto scaling in live environment? How we can? Okay. If we configure auto scaling group, it can create new instance based on last create AMI, which we have added in configuration. But AMI is created today, but need auto scaling day after tomorrow with real time. I didn't get that question, Prasanna. See, if you want to change this data, that's what I'm demonstrating now. So I'm assuming that's what your question. So now the AMI creation, let me monitor that AMI creation. So now new AMI is creating. So once this new AMI is created, so simply we can create another launch configuration. Okay, then we can associate that updated launch configuration to our auto scaling group that I'll show now. See, at moment, based on AMI only, we are going to get all these EC2 instances and all. So if anything is modified in one of the EC2 instance, for example, something modified this is EC2 instance, will that reflect here also? No. See, I did a modification in one of the EC2 instance. Is that reflected in another EC2 instances? No. Only for one EC2 instance, I'm getting 2.0. Remaining all 4 instances is giving version 1 only. So if you want to be in the synchronization, for that, we are going to use another service called EFS. That is our tomorrow's topic. That initially, before starting, jump into this thing itself, I have explained that. I told that. So all the instances will be in a proper sync whenever we are using that EFS or shared storage for all the servers. Okay, this AMI is still pending. Come on. Okay, it is in available state. Now, I want to deliver my application to version 2 with upgraded configuration, with new configuration. So simply go to launch configuration, pick that, you can copy, then you can modify, otherwise create a new one. Click on launch, create launch configuration. So my launch or version 2 launch config, version 2 I'm simply giving. Okay, what is a AMI? Pick new AMI, my golden AMI version 2. What is a new instant type required? So far I launched T2 micros, right? I'm going to choose T2 nano, but that won't come under free tier eligibility. I'm repeating that. Or you just go with the T2 micro, then choose. So then what is do you want to associate any profile or what security group you want to? I'm going to choose an existing security group, auto scaling group, security group 1, then key pair. So, choose an existing key pair. I acknowledge that launch configuration. So now we got an updated launch configuration, but is it associated to our auto scaling group? Not yet. So now go back to auto scaling group. So far, this auto scaling group is using this particular launch configuration. Version 1 launch configuration it is using. Now edit this. I'm giving version 2, then click on update. So is that sufficient to deliver? No, not at all. We already have some EC2 instances here, right? Those EC2 instances are delivering version 1 only. Now, as a phase by phase, terminate the EC2 instances. So now, initially, I'm going to terminate 3 EC2 instances. But before that, let me do one thing. I'll make this desired capacity as just 3. Click on update. So it will pick some instance to terminate and it is going to do that. So now you can have one EC2 instance up and running, then you can terminate remaining all instances. So for that particular duration, one instance is there, so no downtime here. All right, that instance picked as another one, or else pick all the instances, terminate. So then what happened? Whenever Amazon want to launch a new EC2 instance, when Amazon want to launch new EC2 instance, so then it will go and it will pick the settings from this version 2. So our version 2, like, contains a different AMI, different EC2 instance and all, then it is going to launch. So it is updating the capacity. So we need to wait for again like a 3 to 4 minutes. So then this capacity is going to, desired capacity is going to change, and this activity also is going to trigger. So this selected those instance to terminate, and like, it's going to terminate. We will get 2 more instances. So those 2 instances will come with updated version with updated configuration, right? So if you have 4 instances, we don't terminate all the 4 instances at a time. So we follow blue and green deployment mechanism at that moment. Blue and green deployment means, so initially we have 4 version 1 instances. Okay, now we will we will go and we will terminate a couple of EC2 instances of an existing one. But before this, we are going to change the launch configuration to latest 1. So as we change this launch configuration, what happened? So as we terminated 2, the desired capacity is 4 always. Here 2 instances got terminated. So immediately auto scaling group, what it will do, it will try to create 2 more instances. While creating, what setting it is going to pick? It will pick, or it will get the settings from launch configuration. So version 2. So now what happened? 50% of the traffic to version 1, 50% of the traffic to version 2. When these 2 instances active, again desired capacity is 4, but from different launch configurations. Now as a phase 2, delete these 2 also. So you will get these 2 instances like this only. And as you terminated, 2 more instances will come and it is going to pick this version 2 here. So now from version 1, without any downtime. Why without any downtime? Here sometime while you're performing this version 2 and version 1 instance is going to give response for this duration. Now again 4 instances, but different version. Either it is a configuration or application level. 0 downtime application migration happened here. Right? So this is a blue and green deployment. So this one I need to draw in blue color. So initially everything is in blue, like, so phase 1, 50% blue, 50% green, and phase 3, 100% green. So that's why we call it as a blue and green deployment mechanism. So now it is launching a instance, but see the configuration, it have taken T2 nano. Why it have taken T2 nano? Why? Because it took from the launch configuration we associated. So then that will register to the load balancer and our version 2 website is delivering. So go to load balancer auto scaling group, load balancer associated to auto scaling group, pick the target groups and choose the targets. See here, 1 instance, automatically 2 more instances also come. So based on the activity it had. So I hope this part is clear. Change the configuration or changing the one version to another version. Now, one final topic, so that you have an auto scaling group. You have an auto scaling group. Now, scale in option got triggered. So Amazon wanted to terminate one of the EC2 instance. So when Amazon want to terminate one of the EC2 instance, so how it is going to pick? See, now we have like, 4 or 5 EC2 instances here. So it need to pick one of the EC2 instance to terminate. What is the strategy it is going to use to pick the instance? See, if you observe this activity, EC2 activity, it is telling, okay, this instance got selected to terminate. So what mechanism it is using to pick this instance to terminate among all the 5? See, the capacity got changed from 5 to 3. So now what it need to do, it need to terminate 2 of the EC2 instances. So it selected this and it selected this. The strategy behind selecting that instance is this. When any scaling option got triggered, it will verify whether our EC2 instance in multiple availability zones. Then it is going to pick the instances which contain what availability zone contain most instances. It will pick that. Then it will come back here. Select the instances with the oldest launch configuration. See, sometime back, see, whenever you are following this blue and green deployment mechanism, here version 1 launch configuration, version 2 launch configuration. So then in that scenario, it is going to pick the instances with the oldest launch configuration. Why? Because those are like, previous versions and all. It will pick that. If both are running with the same launch configuration, so then it will go and it will look for which is the closest to next billing hour. So that instance launch time, for example, this instance is launched at 8:53. The another instance is launched at 8:55. So which one is closest to next billing hour, 8:53 one or 8:55 one? So obviously at 9:53 this 1 hour happened. So it is going to pick the instance that is closest to next billing hour. If both instances launched at the same time, so then what happened, So it is going to pick an instance randomly. So this is a mechanism. Our auto scaling group, choose instances to terminate. If you have an EC2 instance, or initially what are the 2 instances you are launching, those 2 EC2 instances should not be part of this mechanism. Then you can choose protect instance from scale in. Protect instance from scale in operation. So apart from initial launched EC2 instances, whatever the one is creating, whatever the one is added later on, that for those instances only this policy is going to applicable. So I'll upload this document also. Please go through that. So we cannot expect much questions on these topics, but just to have good knowledge on the topic, I'm covering that. So now 3 instances with updated configuration with updated version of application. Okay. So that is all about the auto scaling group. So any questions on this, guys? How can we use auto scaling option with real-time data? So end of the day, you are going to develop an application. How you are going to develop application? How you are going to deliver that application with load balancer? So based on the load on that, how many web servers you require, those many we are going to choose under auto scaling group. Then we are going to, what exactly the real-time data means? Here, this website also a real-time data. What that particular term real-time data means? If you give more clarity on that, I can answer in detail about that, Prasanna.
Yes, I mean, it means like suppose we have created the one instance and create the AMI today, okay? And after creations, I have set the
Okay,
configuration.
I got it. So that I mentioned multiple times, whatever modification you have happened in that existing servers and all, that also need to applicable. That's what your question, right?
Yes, after whatever changes from the client side or the my side in
For
the.
that, I repeated twice that we are going to discuss tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. I got your question. Whatever modification happen on web server 1, that should reflect in all the web servers also immediately without any delays and all. So for that, we are going to use an option called EFS. That's tomorrow's topic.
Okay.
So any other questions, guys?
Avinash, if we have covered this blue-green deployment completely, or if there is anything else as well to add.
See, that's just a strategy we
Okay.
follow.
So what you did over here is you brought down all the instances, right? So if you see, my service was unavailable for some time until my instances come up with the new configuration.
But Swaraj, you do one by one. If I want to do
Okay.
one by one, it's already 9 o'clock. If I want to
Fine. Okay. You have to do one by one. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And one more important thing, don't just go and terminate EC2 instances from your instances screen. That is not at all sufficient. Go and first delete your auto scaling group. First delete your auto scaling group. Then go and delete your launch configurations. When any launch configuration is associated to auto scaling group, we cannot delete it. So that's why delete auto scaling group first, then delete the launch configuration. Now go back to AMIs, deregistered both the AMIs, then go back to snapshots, delete the snapshots which is associated to that golden AMI. Then go back to load balancer, then delete the load balancer. Once load balancer got deleted, go to target groups, delete your target group. So wait for a minute or two, then delete the target group. So now just observe your EC2 screen. All the instance should terminate. So it is going to terminate automatically whenever you delete auto scaling group. So you need to wait for some time, otherwise terminate it manually. Then we are good with terminating all the resources. Okay, if any resource is not terminated by auto scaling group, so you do it manually. That won't happen most of the times, but if it happens, don't leave that. So make sure you terminate and delete all the resources, right? So that is all about auto scaling group, and I'm going to upload this ASC termination one as well as our document. So tomorrow we are going to discuss what exactly shared storage mechanism is, and then we are going to discuss what is a role and what is a CLI. So we are going to discuss those topics in our coming 2 sessions. Any questions before closing the session, guys? This also deletes. Seems another one instance need to terminate. All right. So the task is pretty straightforward. Explore auto scaling group. Try to configure auto scaling group with version 1 and version 2. That's a pretty straightforward task. Right? So that's it for today's session. See you again tomorrow. Thank you, guys.